My wife decided to be a surrogate for her sister without asking me. Said, my body, my choice. What I did next made her beg for forgiveness. Subscribe to the channel and like the video to see more stories like this. When I walked into our kitchen that Tuesday morning and saw my wife Emma on the phone, whispering excitedly about the baby with someone, I thought she was finally ready to talk about starting our own family. We'd been married for 3 years, and every conversation about kids had been met with, not yet, or we need to save more money first. But there she was, glowing like I'd never seen before, talking about pregnancy symptoms and doctor appointments. Who was that? I asked after she hung up, trying to sound casual while pouring my coffee. Emma turned around with this strange smile on her face, the kind that didn't quite reach her eyes. Oh, just my sister Lisa. She's going through some stuff. Lisa, Emma's older sister who lived 2 states away with her husband Mike. They'd been trying to have kids for years, going through multiple rounds of IVF, spending their life savings on fertility treatments. I felt bad for them, I really did. But something about Emma's tone made my stomach twist. What kind of stuff? I pressed, sitting down at our breakfast table. That's when Emma did something that should have been my first red flag. She avoided eye contact completely, busying herself with cleaning the already spotless counter. Just woman stuff. You wouldn't understand. Now, Emma and I had always been open about everything. We shared passwords, talked about our deepest fears, argued about stupid things, and made up within hours. But this felt different. This felt like she was hiding something big. Over the next few days, the phone calls became more frequent. Emma would disappear into our bedroom or step outside to take them. I'd catch snippets of conversations about appointments and schedules and telling him. When I asked who she was talking to, it was always the same answer. Lisa. Then came the doctor visits. I'm going to run some errands, Emma announced one Thursday morning, grabbing her purse and keys with unusual urgency. What errands? I asked, looking up from my laptop where I was working from home. Just stuff. I'll be back in a few hours. But here's the thing about being married to someone for 3 years. You learn their patterns. Emma hated running errands. She'd complain for days about needing to go to the grocery store. She'd put off simple tasks until the last possible minute. So her sudden enthusiasm for mysterious errands that took hours didn't add up. I started paying attention, really paying attention. She'd leave for these errands at specific times, always mid-morning, always on Tuesdays and Thursdays. She'd come back different somehow, more excited but also more nervous, and she started eating differently, taking vitamins I'd never seen before, refusing wine with dinner. The pieces started clicking together in my head, but I didn't want to believe what I was thinking. Then I found the folder. I wasn't snooping, I swear. I was looking for our insurance information because my company was changing providers, and I knew Emma kept all our important documents in her desk drawer. That's where I saw it, a manila folder labeled Pregnancy Documentation in Emma's careful handwriting. My hands shook as I opened it. Inside were medical forms, blood test results, ultrasound appointment schedules, but none of it made sense. The forms had Emma's name on them, but the intended parents section was filled out with Lisa and Mike's information. That's when I saw the contract. 25 pages of legal language that basically said my wife had agreed to carry my sister-in-law's baby for 9 months. No compensation mentioned, just a family favor that would change our entire lives. I sat in that chair for probably 30 minutes, reading and rereading those documents. My wife, the woman who slept next to me every night, who shared morning coffee with me, who made plans for our future together, had made a decision that would affect both of us for the next 9 months without saying a single word to me about it. The worst part? The contract was dated 3 weeks ago. She'd been lying to me for 3 weeks. When Emma came home from her latest errand that day, I was sitting at our kitchen table with the folder spread out in front of me. She walked through the door humming some tune, then stopped dead when she saw me. David, I can explain, she said immediately, which told me everything I needed to know about how long she'd been planning this conversation. Explain what exactly? I asked, my voice surprisingly calm considering the rage building in my chest. Explain how my wife decided to get pregnant with someone else's baby without talking to her husband? Or explain how you've been lying to me for 3 weeks? Emma sat down across from me, and I could see her shifting into what I call her lawyer mode. See, Emma works in PR, and she's brilliant at spinning situations to make them sound reasonable. But this wasn't a client crisis she could smooth over with the right words. Lisa and Mike are desperate, David. They've spent everything on treatments, and the doctors said their only option is a surrogate. Family surrogacy is so much better than going through an agency. It's safer, more personal, and Lisa knows the baby will be loved and cared for. That's not the point, I said, trying to keep my voice level. The point is that you made this decision without me. This affects our marriage, our finances, our entire life for the next 9 months, and you didn't think I deserved to be part of that conversation? That's when Emma said the words that changed everything between us. She looked me straight in the eyes, crossed her arms, and said, "It's my body, David. My body, my choice. I don't need your permission to help my sister." The way she said it, like I was some controlling husband trying to dictate what she could do with her life, made my blood boil. This wasn't about control. This was about partnership, about making major life decisions together like married couples are supposed to do. "So you just decided," I said slowly, "that for the next 9 months, you're going to be tired, emotional, unable to travel, dealing with morning sickness, doctor appointments, dietary restrictions, and all the physical and emotional challenges of pregnancy, and none of that would affect me at all. Emma's confident expression faltered slightly. I mean, it won't be that bad. Lisa and Mike are going to help with everything, and think about how happy we'll make them. But I wasn't done. And what about us? What about the trips we planned? What about trying for our own kids? What about the fact that you'll be emotionally bonded to a baby that you'll have to give away, and I'll have to watch you go through that heartbreak? You're being dramatic, Emma snapped. Surrogates do this all the time. It's not a big deal. Not a big deal. My wife carrying another man's baby for 9 months wasn't a big deal. That's when I realized that Emma had already made up her mind about everything, and my feelings, my concerns, my wants, my needs as her husband didn't factor into her decision at all. But what she didn't realize was that she'd just handed me all the information I needed to make some decisions of my own. And if Emma wanted to play the my body, my choice card, well, I had some choices to make too. The next morning, Emma acted like nothing had happened. She made coffee, kissed my cheek, and asked what I wanted for dinner, as if she hadn't just told me that carrying another man's baby was no big deal, and that my feelings as her husband didn't matter. But I was done pretending everything was normal. I'd spent the entire night thinking, and I'd come to some conclusions of my own. Emma, I said, setting down my coffee cup, we need to talk about this surrogacy thing seriously. She sighed dramatically, like I was being unreasonable. David, I already told you, this is happening. Lisa needs me, and I'm going to help her. End of discussion. Actually, it's not the end of discussion, I said calmly, because while you're making choices about your body, I get to make choices about mine, and my choice is that I'm not going to be part of this. Emma laughed, actually laughed. What does that even mean? You're being ridiculous. It means, I said, looking her straight in the eyes, that I'm moving out today. The laughter died on her lips. You can't be serious. Dead serious. You want to spend the next 9 months carrying your sister's baby? You can do it alone. I'm not going to stick around to watch my wife be pregnant with another man's child while she tells me I have no say in decisions that affect our marriage. Emma's face went pale. David, you're overreacting. It's just 9 months. Just 9 months, I repeated. Emma, do you hear yourself? You're talking about pregnancy like it's a short business trip. This is going to change you physically, emotionally, mentally. You're going to need support, care, help with everything. And you decided I should provide all of that without being consulted about the decision. I thought you'd understand, she stammered. Understand what? That my opinion doesn't matter? That you can make major life decisions without me, and I'll just go along with it because I love you? I stood up and started walking toward our bedroom. I'm packing a bag. I'll be staying at Mark's place until I can find my own apartment. Emma followed me, and I could hear the panic creeping into her voice. David, please. We can work this out. Maybe I should have talked to you first, but the contract is already signed. I can't back out now. You could have talked to me before you signed anything, I said, pulling clothes from our closet. But you didn't. You made your choice, Emma. Now I'm making mine. That's when she started crying. Real tears, not the manipulative kind. Please don't leave me. I need you. I stopped packing and looked at her. For a moment, I almost caved. Almost. But then I remembered how dismissive she'd been, how she'd acted like my concerns were ridiculous, how she'd thrown my body, my choice in my face like I was trying to control her. You need me now, I said quietly. But yesterday you didn't need my opinion. Yesterday my feelings didn't matter. Yesterday you could make decisions for both of us without talking to me. It's not the same thing, Emma protested. It's exactly the same thing. You made a choice that affects both of us. Now I'm making a choice that affects both of us. I finished packing and headed for the door. Emma grabbed my arm. David, what am I supposed to tell Lisa and Mike? They're counting on me. They've already started preparing the nursery. Tell them the truth, I said, gently removing her hand from my arm. Tell them that you made a decision without consulting your husband, and now you're dealing with the consequences. I walked out of our house that day, not knowing it would be the last time I'd ever live there. Mark, my college roommate and best man at our wedding, was shocked when I showed up at his door with a suitcase. Dude, what happened? You look like hell. I told him everything. Mark listened without interrupting, which I appreciated because I needed to get it all out. So, let me get this straight, he said when I finished. Emma agreed to be pregnant for 9 months. Didn't tell you. And when you found out and expressed concerns, she basically told you to deal with it? Pretty much. And now you're, what, separated? I guess. I don't know what we are. I just know I can't be in that house watching her go through pregnancy with another man's baby while she acts like I'm being unreasonable for having feelings about it. Mark was quiet for a moment. You know, Lisa and Mike must be putting some serious pressure on her. That kind of decision doesn't happen in a vacuum. That got me thinking. Over the next few days, I started putting together a timeline. When had Emma first started acting strange? When did the mysterious phone calls begin? When did she start talking about Lisa's problems? I realized it had been going on for almost 2 months, not 3 weeks like the contract date suggested. Emma had been having conversations with Lisa and Mike about this surrogacy arrangement long before she'd made it official. But here's what really got to me. During those 2 months, Emma and I had been talking talking about our own future. We'd looked at bigger houses and better school districts. We'd talked about starting a family soon. We'd even discussed baby names one night after a few glasses of wine. The whole time, Emma was already planning to be pregnant with someone else's baby. That's when I started getting really angry. Not just hurt or disappointed, but genuinely angry. Emma hadn't just hidden this decision from me. She'd actively deceived me while we were making plans for our own family. So I made a decision of my own. If Emma wanted to play games, I could play games too. I called a lawyer, not because I wanted a divorce, at least not yet, but because I wanted to understand my rights and options. What I learned was eye-opening. Your wife signed a surrogacy contract without your consent? The lawyer asked, reviewing the documents I'd photographed. That's right. I found out after the fact. In this state, both spouses typically need to consent to surrogacy arrangements, especially when no compensation is involved. There could be legal complications here. What kind of complications? Well, if your wife is using marital assets to support the pregnancy, health insurance, medical bills, lost wages, you could have grounds to contest the arrangement. And if she's living in the marital home during the pregnancy, there are questions about whether you're financially supporting the surrogacy against your will. I hadn't thought about any of that, but the lawyer was right. Emma's health insurance was through my job. The marital home we'd be living in during her pregnancy was half mine. If she couldn't work because of pregnancy complications, our joint savings would support her. Emma had made this decision for both of us, but she expected me to pay for the consequences. That's when I came up with my plan. I went back to the house the next afternoon while Emma was at one of her appointments. I had a locksmith change all the locks, and I had legal papers served to Emma's office. The papers were simple: a formal request for spousal consent to the surrogacy arrangement, along with a detailed breakdown of all marital assets that would be used to support the pregnancy. If Emma wanted to go through with this, she'd need to either get my written consent or remove me from any financial responsibility for the arrangement. I also included an itemized list of costs: health insurance, mortgage payments on the house she'd be living in, utilities, groceries, car insurance, and estimated lost wages during maternity leave. The total came to just over $47,000 for 9 months. The message was clear. If Emma wanted to make unilateral decisions about our marriage, she could also take unilateral financial responsibility for those decisions. But I wasn't done. I also filed a formal complaint with Lisa and Mike's fertility clinic, questioning whether they had properly vetted the surrogacy arrangement and whether they were aware that the surrogate's husband had not consented to the procedure. When Emma came home that evening and couldn't get into our house, she called me screaming, "David, what the hell did you do? I can't get in, and Lisa just called me crying because the clinic is questioning the surrogacy." "I made some choices of my own," I said calmly, "just like you did. This is insane." "You can't lock me out of my own house." "Actually, I can. It's my house too, and I'm not comfortable having it used to support a pregnancy I didn't consent to. If you want to be a surrogate, you can find somewhere else to do it." The silence on the other end of the phone was deafening. "Emma, you told me that your body was your choice. Well, my money is my choice. My house is my choice. My support is my choice, and I choose not to be involved in this arrangement." But what Emma didn't realize was that this was just the beginning, because when someone throws my body, my choice in your face and expects you to just accept whatever they decide, they forget that choices work both ways. Emma ended up staying at Lisa's house that night, which was perfect for my plan. While she was gone, I had time to execute the next phase of what I was starting to think of as Operation Reality Check. The first thing I did was call our health insurance company. "Hi, I need to understand something about maternity coverage," I told the representative. "If my wife is pregnant as a surrogate for someone else, are those medical expenses covered under our family plan?" "That's an interesting question, sir. Let me check with our policy specialists." 20 minutes later, I had my answer. Surrogacy arrangements required pre-approval and specific documentation. Without it, the insurance company could deny coverage, leaving us responsible for tens of thousands in medical bills. Emma hadn't gotten pre-approval. She'd just assumed everything would be covered. Next, I called my HR department. Same question about family leave policies for surrogacy. Turns out, family leave for surrogacy births was only available if both spouses had consented to the arrangement in writing. Emma was looking at 9 months of pregnancy with no insurance coverage and no paid leave. But it got better. I also discovered that our mortgage had a clause about using the property for business purposes. Surrogacy, even unpaid surrogacy, could technically qualify as a business arrangement. If the mortgage company found out, they could call in the loan. By the time Emma called me the next morning, I had a complete picture of just how much her simple family favor was going to cost us. "David, you need to fix this," she said, without even saying hello. "Lisa is hysterical. Mike is talking about suing you, and the clinic won't proceed without your written consent." "Good morning to you too, Emma," I said calmly. "I'm doing great. Thanks for asking." "This isn't funny. You're ruining everything." "I'm not ruining anything. I'm just making sure I understand my financial and legal obligations before my wife carries another man's baby in my house using my insurance." "Our house," she corrected. "Our insurance." "Exactly. Our house, our insurance, our money. Which means these decisions should be made by both of us, not just you." Emma was quiet for a moment, and I could hear Lisa crying in the background. "What do do you want? Emma finally asked. I want what I should have gotten from the beginning. I want to be part of this decision. I want to understand all the costs, risks, and implications. And I want you to acknowledge that you should have talked to me before signing that contract. Fine, Emma said quickly. I should have talked to you first. I'm sorry. Now will you consent to the surrogacy? That's not how this works, Emma. Sorry doesn't undo 3 weeks of lies. Sorry doesn't make me trust your judgment. And sorry definitely doesn't make me want to financially support a pregnancy I had no say in. That's when Lisa grabbed the phone. David, you're being selfish and cruel, Lisa said, her voice thick with tears. This is my only chance to have a baby. Emma is doing something beautiful and selfless, and you're destroying it because of your male ego. Lisa, I said, keeping my voice level. With all due respect, this has nothing to do with my ego. This has to do with the fact that your sister made a major decision that affects my life without talking to me about it. She's helping family. That should be enough. If it's family helping family, then why didn't anyone in the family think I deserved to be part of the conversation? Why did I have to find out by accident? Lisa didn't have an answer for that. And Lisa, since we're talking, I have some questions for you. Did you know that Emma hadn't talked to me about this when you asked her to be your surrogate? Silence. Did you encourage her to keep it secret from me? More silence. Because I'm looking at text messages between you two that suggest you told Emma it would be easier to ask forgiveness than permission. I wasn't actually looking at text messages, but the sharp intake of breath on the other end told me I'd guessed right. That's not what I meant, Lisa stammered. Then what did you mean? I just meant that you might be worried about nothing, and once you saw how easy pregnancy could be. Lisa, stop talking, I interrupted. Every word you say is making this worse. You and Emma conspired to hide this from me. You actively encouraged my wife to deceive me, and now you're calling me selfish for having feelings about it. I could hear Emma taking the phone back. David, please. Lisa and Mike have already told everyone they're having a baby. They've set up the nursery. They've started buying clothes. If this falls through, they'll be devastated. And whose fault is that? I asked. Who told them to start celebrating and making announcements before making sure their surrogate's husband was on board? It's just a formality. Emma, stop. Just stop. It's not a formality. It's a marriage. And in marriages, spouses talk to each other about major decisions before making them. That afternoon, I got a call from Mike. David, man, I think we got off on the wrong foot, he said in that fake friendly voice people use when they want something. Lisa's been pretty emotional about this whole thing, and I think maybe we all said some things we didn't mean. I meant everything I said, Mike. Look, I get it. You're upset that Emma didn't talk to you first, but she's already pregnant, man. The embryo transfer happened last week. We can't exactly undo it now. My blood went cold. What did you just say? The embryo transfer. Last Tuesday. That's why Emma's been going to all those appointments. She's officially carrying our baby now. Last Tuesday, the day I'd found the contract, Emma had been pregnant for a week, and she'd let me find out by discovering paperwork instead of telling me herself. Mike, I said very slowly, you're telling me that Emma was already pregnant when I confronted her about the contract? Well, yeah. I mean, that's why she couldn't back out. The baby's already growing. I hung up on him. Emma had lied about everything. This wasn't just about signing a contract without talking to me. She'd been pregnant for a week and had been planning to hide it from me indefinitely. If I hadn't found that folder, how long would she have waited to tell me? When would she have finally mentioned that she was carrying her sister's baby? I called Emma immediately. You're already pregnant, I said as soon as she answered. Long pause. David, you've been pregnant for a week. The embryo transfer was last Tuesday, the same day I found your secret folder, which means you weren't just hiding a decision from me, you were hiding an actual pregnancy. I was going to tell you. When you started showing? When you went into labor? I was scared you'd react exactly like you're reacting. I'm reacting like someone who just found out his wife has been lying about being pregnant. Do you understand how insane this is? Emma started crying. I knew you'd be upset, so I wanted to wait until everything was settled. Everything was settled. You made the decision, you signed the contract, you got pregnant, and you arranged your whole life around this pregnancy without involving me at all. The only thing that wasn't settled was whether you'd ever bother to tell your husband. That's when Emma said something that made me realize our marriage was probably over. I knew you'd try to stop me, she sobbed, and I couldn't let you do that. Lisa needs this baby, and I'm the only one who can help her, so you chose your sister over your husband. It's not like that. It's exactly like that. You chose to lie to me, deceive me, and hide a pregnancy from me because you thought my opinion mattered less than Lisa's feelings. I was done with phone calls, done with conversations, done with trying to make Emma understand why her choices were destroying our marriage. So, I made another choice of my own. I filed for legal separation. Not divorce yet, but separation with a very specific stipulation. Emma could continue the surrogacy, but not as my wife using marital assets. If she wanted to carry Lisa's baby, she could do it as a single woman with her own insurance, her own place to live, and her own financial resources. The papers were served to Emma at Lisa's house the next morning. According to my lawyer, the look on both sisters' faces when they read the separation agreement was priceless. The separation papers hit Emma and Lisa like a freight train. According to my lawyer, who had a private investigator friend keeping tabs on the situation, both sisters spent the entire day crying and making frantic phone calls. But instead of accepting responsibility for the mess they'd created, retaliated. They decided to double down on the manipulation. The first sign was Emma's parents calling me. "David, sweetheart," Emma's mother said in that overly sweet voice she used when she wanted something. "Lisa told us about this little misunderstanding you and Emma are having." "It's not a misunderstanding, Mrs. Chen. Emma lied to me about being pregnant with another man's baby." "Oh, honey, I think you're overreacting. Emma is just trying to help her sister. You know how much Lisa has struggled with fertility issues." "I know exactly how much Lisa has struggled. What I don't know is why that gives Emma the right to lie to her husband about major life decisions." There was a pause, and I could hear Emma's father whispering in the background. "David," her mother continued, "Emma made a mistake not telling you first, but she's pregnant now, and she needs her husband's support. This separation is just going to stress her out, and stress isn't good for the baby. The baby that isn't mine," I pointed out. "The baby she decided to carry without talking to me. That baby." "You're being very selfish." Emma's father suddenly jumped on the line. "This is family. Family helps family. Mr. Chen, with respect, I am Emma's family too. And Emma didn't think I was worth including in this family decision." "That's different." "How is it different? How is Emma's relationship with Lisa more important than Emma's relationship with me?" Neither of them had an answer for that. The next day, it was Mike's turn to try manipulation. "David, I want to apologize," he said when he called. "I think Lisa and Emma handled this whole thing wrong. But here's the reality. Emma is already pregnant with our baby. If you force her to stress about money and housing and insurance, you could cause complications that hurt the baby. Mike, I'm not forcing Emma to do anything. Emma chose to get pregnant. Emma chose to lie to me about it. Emma chose to prioritize Lisa's wants over her husband's feelings. These are all Emma's choices. But now the baby could be at risk. The baby was at risk the moment Emma decided to hide the pregnancy from her husband. If she was worried about stress, she should have thought about that before deceiving me. Look, what if we pay you? We'll give you $20,000 to consent to the surrogacy and take Emma back." I almost laughed. "You're trying to bribe me to accept that my wife lied to me and got pregnant behind my back? It's not a bribe. It's compensation for your inconvenience." "My inconvenience?" I said. "Mike, my wife betrayed my trust, lied to me for weeks, and is now carrying another man's baby. You think $20,000 covers that inconvenience?" "50,000, Mike said quickly. "We'll give you 50,000. You don't get it, do you? This isn't about money. This is about the fact that Emma chose to exclude me from a decision that affects my entire life. Money doesn't fix broken trust." But the real manipulation came from Emma herself. She showed up at my work on Friday afternoon, standing in the parking lot by my car when I came out. She looked terrible, pale, tired, and she'd clearly been crying. "David, please," she said as I approached. "We need to talk." "We have talked, Emma, multiple times. You've made your position clear, and I've made mine clear. I'm pregnant and alone," she said, and I could see her trying to make herself look as pitiful as possible. "I'm scared and confused, and I need my husband." "You needed your husband when you were making the decision to get pregnant. You didn't need him then. I made a mistake. You made multiple mistakes over multiple weeks. This wasn't an accident or a momentary lapse in judgment. This was a deliberate campaign of deception." Emma stepped closer to me, and I could see the desperation in her eyes. "What if I terminate the pregnancy? What if I call the whole thing off?" I stared at her. "You would do that? You'd terminate your sister's baby to get me back? If that's what it takes, yes. I choose you, David. I choose our marriage." "Emma, do you hear yourself? You're talking about ending a pregnancy that Lisa and Mike have been planning for months, that they've already announced to their families, that they've spent their life savings on. You'd do that to them? I just want you back. But you're not choosing me, Emma. You're choosing me over Lisa, the same way you chose Lisa over me before. You're not making decisions based on what's right or what you believe in. You're just choosing whoever is putting the most pressure on you at the moment." Emma started crying harder. "I don't know what to do anymore. Everyone's mad at me. Lisa says I'm ruining her life if I back out. You're leaving me if I don't. Mike is threatening to sue me for breach of contract. My parents think I should do whatever you want. I can't make anyone happy." And there it was. Emma wasn't sorry for lying to me. She wasn't sorry for excluding me from the decision. She was sorry that her choices had consequences that made her life difficult. "Emma," I said gently, "do you understand why I'm upset? Not the surface reason, but the real reason? Because I didn't ask you first? Because you didn't think I mattered. In your mind, Lisa's desire for a baby was more important than my feelings about our marriage. You thought you could make a decision that would fundamentally change our lives for 9 months. And I would just go along with it because I love you. I was trying to help my sister. You were prioritizing your sister's feelings over your husband's. And when I objected, you dismissed my concerns as ridiculous and told me I had no say in decisions about your body." Emma wiped her eyes. "So what now? You're just going to divorce me?" "I don't know, Emma. Right now I can't trust you. I can't trust that you won't make other major decisions without me. I can't trust that when push comes to shove, you won't choose your family of origin over the family we're supposed to be building together. But I love you. I love you too. But love isn't enough when there's no trust." That weekend, things got ugly. Lisa showed up at Mark's apartment where I was staying and started screaming at me in the hallway. "You're destroying my marriage," she yelled. "Mike is furious that Emma might back out, and he's blaming me for pushing her into this. We've already told everyone we're having a baby. Lisa, that's not my problem. You and Emma created this situation. Emma is my sister. She's supposed to help me. Emma is also my wife. She's supposed to make decisions with me. This is all your fault. If you weren't so controlling and selfish, none of this would have happened. Mark came out of his apartment and told Lisa she needed to leave or he'd call security. But as she was walking away, Lisa turned back and screamed something that made everything click into place. Emma never should have married someone who doesn't understand family loyalty. That's when I realized what had really happened. This wasn't just about Emma making a bad decision. This was about Lisa manipulating Emma into proving where her loyalties lay. Lisa had used Emma's desire to help as a test of whether Emma would choose her sister over her husband. And Emma had failed the test in the worst possible way. But what Lisa didn't realize was that her manipulation had backfired completely, because now Emma was facing a choice she never expected to have to make. Lose her sister's respect by backing out of the surrogacy, or lose her husband by going through with it. Emma's choice came 2 weeks later, and it wasn't what anyone expected. I was at work when my lawyer called. David, you need to sit down. Emma just filed a counterpetition. A counterpetition for what? She's not fighting the separation. She's asking for a full divorce, and she's claiming that you abandoned her during a medical condition. I sat down hard in my office chair. She's what? She's saying that your refusal to support her during the surrogacy constitutes abandonment, and she's asking for alimony and half of all marital assets to support herself during the pregnancy. Emma had made her choice. Instead of backing out of the surrogacy or trying to repair our marriage, she decided to burn everything down and take me with her. But here's the thing about playing hardball with someone who's already 3 steps ahead of you. It usually doesn't end well. Tell me about this abandonment claim, I said to my lawyer. She's arguing that pregnancy is a medical condition, and that by leaving, you failed in your duty to provide spousal support during her medical needs. Even though the pregnancy was her unilateral decision that I explicitly opposed, that's where it gets interesting. Her lawyer is claiming that opposition to pregnancy constitutes reproductive coercion. I had to laugh. Emma was now claiming that my refusal to support her secret pregnancy was a form of abuse. What are our options? Well, you've documented everything beautifully. The fact that she hid the decision, lied about the timeline, was already pregnant when you found out. It all supports your position that this was deception, not a medical emergency requiring spousal support. And the abandonment claim? Hard to prove abandonment when someone moves out because their spouse made major life decisions without them. Plus, you offered to discuss the situation. She's the one who refused compromise. But Emma's nuclear option had consequences she hadn't considered. Lisa called me that evening, absolutely hysterical. David, what did you do? Emma is talking about moving to California. She says she can't stay here with all the stress and judgment. I didn't do anything, Lisa. Emma filed for divorce. She says you forced her to choose between her family and her marriage. I never gave her that choice. I asked her to include me in decisions that affect our marriage. She chose to see that as an ultimatum. But if she moves to California, I can't be involved in the pregnancy. I won't be there for doctor appointments or when the baby's born. And there it was. Emma's master plan was falling apart. In trying to punish me with a divorce, she'd created a situation where she might end up alone, pregnant, and far away from the sister she'd sacrificed her marriage to help. Lisa, maybe you should have thought about that before encouraging Emma to lie to me. This is all your fault. If you had just been supportive. If I had just been supportive of being lied to and excluded from major life decisions. Right. But the real chaos started when Mike found out about Emma's divorce plans. He showed up at my office the next day, looking like he hadn't slept in weeks. David, you have to fix this, he said. Emma can't move to California. We need her here for the pregnancy. I'm not the one planning to move, Mike. Take it up with Emma. She won't listen to us anymore. She says we manipulated her and that she's done with all of us. Wait, she said you manipulated her? Mike nodded miserably. She figured out that Lisa pushed her to keep the surrogacy secret from you. She's furious with both of us now. Emma was finally seeing the situation clearly. Lisa and Mike had encouraged her to deceive me, then abandoned her when the deception blew up in her face. So, what do you want me to do about it? I asked. Talk to her. Convince her to stay. We'll do whatever it takes. Pay for counseling, give you guys space, whatever. Mike, Emma filed for divorce. She made her choice. She only filed because she thought it was the only way to keep the baby safe from the stress of our fighting. That stopped me. What do you mean? She said the fighting and pressure was making her sick, and she was worried about miscarrying. She thinks if she divorces you and moves away, she can have a peaceful pregnancy and then come back after the baby's born. Emma was trying to have it all. Divorce me to avoid dealing with the consequences of her lies. Move away to avoid family pressure. Carry the baby in peace. Then presumably come back and resume her life like nothing had happened. But she'd miscalculated badly. Mike, has anyone explained to Emma what divorce actually means? She can't just opt out of consequences for 9 months and then opt back in. What do you mean? I mean that if Emma divorces me and moves to California, she'll be a single mother with no income, no health insurance, and no support system. And Lisa won't have any legal rights to the baby if Emma decides she wants to keep it. Mike's face went white. She wouldn't keep the baby. She's just the surrogate, is she? Because legally, if Emma gives birth in California as a single woman, she's the mother. Your surrogacy contract was with a married woman in this state. If she's divorced divorced and living elsewhere when the baby's born, that contract might not be worth the paper it's written on. I watched Mike process this information, and I could see the exact moment he realized that Emma held all the cards. She could keep our baby, he whispered. She could. Probably won't, but she could. And there's nothing you or Lisa could do about it. Mike left my office looking like he'd been hit by a truck, but Emma's plan to escape consequences was about to hit a roadblock she never saw coming. Because while she was busy trying to outmaneuver everyone else, someone else had been making plans of their own. The someone who had been making secret plans was Lisa herself, and what she'd done would destroy what was left of her relationship with Emma forever. It all came out during our divorce mediation 3 weeks later. Emma showed up looking confident, probably thinking she'd outmaneuvered everyone. Her lawyer had clearly told her she was in a strong position, but my lawyer had prepared a surprise. Before we begin, my lawyer said, we need to discuss some information that's come to light regarding the surrogacy arrangement. Emma's lawyer looked confused. What information? It appears that Lisa Chen has been shopping for backup surrogates in case Emma decided to terminate or keep the baby. The color drained from Emma's face. That's impossible. Lisa wouldn't do that. My lawyer slid a folder across the table. These are emails between Lisa and 3 different surrogacy agencies, dating back to 2 weeks ago. She's been telling them that her current surrogate is unreliable and emotionally unstable, and that she needs alternatives. Emma opened the folder with shaking hands. I watched her read the emails, and I could see her world crumbling with each page. In the emails, Lisa had described Emma as my sister who got pregnant without thinking it through, and someone who's always been dramatic and impulsive. She told the agencies that Emma was using the baby as leverage in her divorce, and that Lisa needed a more professional arrangement with someone who understands this is a business transaction. This can't be real, Emma whispered. There's more, my lawyer continued. Lisa has also been in contact with a lawyer about terminating the surrogacy contract based on Emma's changed marital status. She's arguing that Emma's divorce invalidates the original agreement. Emma looked like she was going to be sick. She's trying to take the baby away from me? She's trying to protect her interests, my lawyer said, which she apparently considers separate from yours. But the worst email was the last one. In it, Lisa had written, my sister has always been selfish and attention-seeking. This pregnancy was supposed to be about helping me, but she's made it all about her drama with her husband. I need a surrogate who understands that this baby belongs to me and my husband, not someone who thinks carrying a baby gives her some special relationship with it. Emma started crying right there in the mediation room. Not the manipulative tears she'd used before, but genuine heartbreak. She was finally seeing Lisa the way I'd been seeing her for weeks, as someone who cared more about getting what she wanted than about Emma's well-being. She called me selfish, Emma said between sobs. I gave up my marriage to help her, and she called me selfish. Emma, I said gently, Lisa has been manipulating you from the beginning. She knew asking you to keep the surrogacy secret from me would cause problems in our marriage. She just didn't care. Emma's lawyer asked for a recess, and Emma and I ended up alone in a conference room. I destroyed everything, Emma said, staring at the emails. I destroyed our marriage for someone who was already planning to replace me. You destroyed our marriage when you chose to lie to me, I corrected. Lisa's betrayal doesn't change that, but I was trying to help family. You were trying to help someone who saw you as disposable. Lisa never saw this as you helping family. She saw this as you providing a service. Emma was quiet for a long time. What happens now? Now you decide what you want to do. You're pregnant with their baby, but you're also divorced and living in another state. Legally, you have options. I don't want to keep their baby, Emma said quickly. I never wanted that. I just wanted to help Lisa have a family. Then help her, but do it on your terms, not hers. The final resolution came 2 weeks later. Emma decided to honor the surrogacy commitment, but with new conditions. She moved back to our state, but not to our old house. She got her own apartment and her own health insurance. Lisa and Mike had to pay all pregnancy-related expenses up front, plus a $30 fee for emotional distress. More importantly, Emma insisted on a new contract that gave her complete control over the pregnancy, what doctors to see, what foods to eat, what activities to do. Lisa had no input whatsoever. Lisa was furious about the new arrangement, but she had no choice. Emma held all the cards now. As for our marriage, it was over. The trust was broken beyond repair. But in a strange way, going through this nightmare had helped Emma finally see her sister clearly. I spent so much of my life trying to make Lisa happy, Emma told me during our final conversation. I thought family loyalty meant always saying yes to whatever she wanted. I didn't realize that loyalty should go both ways. The baby was born healthy 7 months later. Emma handed the child over to Lisa and Mike as agreed, but their relationship never recovered. Emma told me later that Lisa barely thanked her, and within a month was complaining that Emma wasn't involved enough in the baby's life. She wants me to be the aunt now, Emma said with bitter laugh. After everything, she expects me to show up for birthdays and babysitting like nothing happened. Emma didn't. She moved to California after all, started over with a new job and a new life. Last I heard, she's engaged to someone who actually talks to her about major decisions before making them. Lisa got her baby, but lost her sister. Mike got the child he wanted, but their marriage is struggling under the financial strain of the pregnancy costs and the guilt of how they treated Emma. As for me, I'm remarried now to someone who understands that marriage is a partnership, not a dictatorship. Someone who would never make life-changing decisions without me because she values my opinion and respects our relationship. Looking back, I don't regret standing up for myself. Emma's "my body, my choice" taught me something important. Choices always have consequences, and the people who make unilateral decisions usually end up dealing with those consequences alone. Sometimes the hardest lesson to learn is that you can't have it both ways. You can't exclude someone from decisions and then expect them to support the results. What do you think about this story? Have you ever been in a situation where someone you loved made major decisions without including you? Share your experience in the comments. If you made it this far, thank you for watching. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more stories like this one.